Next News, breaking news.
Ashik Siddique flatly said abolishing the Senate is part of our platform. Stop right there. That's not some campus kid mumbling in a coffee shop. That is the Democratic Socialists of America co-chair saying out loud that the constitutional republic itself is in the way. And then House Speaker Mike Johnson comes in swinging, this is not a game. That's what he said, and he's right. We're not arguing over tax brackets anymore. We're staring at a movement that wants to smash the guardrails, grab the wheel, and call it democracy. And wait till you hear the line Johnson used about these mini mandamis, because that's the part the media will try their hardest to bury. Because communism, yes, quote, has led to the murder of tens of millions. That was Mike Johnson's warning. Hear that number and then look back at what Ashik Siddique confessed. He wants the Senate gone because the left hates any institution it can't instantly hijack. And that's the whole game. You abolish restraints, you expand the House, you flood the system, and suddenly the mob machine runs everything. And while they still sell you free stuff, Steve Scalise is pointing at the thermostat line. 78 degrees, government telling you how to live in your own home. You see the pattern, right? Control first, freedom last, then dead last. Trump nailed it when he warned that communism, once it takes hold, you never come back. And I want you to sit with that because he didn't toss that line out for drama. He said it because history already wrote the ending. The Democrat Party didn't drift into this. It opened the door, rolled out the red carpet, and let the wreckers walk straight in. When Ashik Siddique brags about abolishing the Senate, you start asking a harder question. If radicals can target institutions, what happens when hackers or AI target your bank account? Noble Gold Investments gives you something real, not digits that disappear in a cloud blackout, but physical gold and silver that you can own, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack. Wealth that doesn't live on a server. It can't be frozen by a keystroke and can't be erased by code. And they can ship it right to your door or help place it in a tax-advantaged retirement account. Go to nextnewsgold.com, just mention my name. And right now, America's 250th also means a free 10-ounce U.S. independent silver bar when you open a new qualified account. Own what bureaucrats and bugs cannot lock away. Now, Bryant Mark got held up as a communist success. And it's privately funded. That detail just wrecks the whole fantasy in one shot. Leftists waved around a New York park like Zohran Mamdani cracked the code and the place runs on capitalist money and private security. Okay? Their proof that communism works depends on private funding and private guards. They're clowns, absolute clowns. And that humiliation matters because it shows these people can't even market the scam without borrowing from the system that they hate. Now let's walk through the receipts because the tweets light this up fast. Democratic Socialists of America co-chair Ashik Siddique says the part of the platform would be abolish the Senate.
We just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land. And that's still a system that we have today. And it's something we would change. We would expand what the House of Representatives does and make it more actually representative of people who live in this country.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
Abolish the Senate. It's called checks and balances, pal. So there it is from the DSA itself. Abolish the Senate. Now Speaker Johnson answers with both barrels, warning Democrats are dragging the country towards communism. He's going berserk on Democrats trying to institute communism nationwide.
What happens? It's inevitable. Communism and this philosophy has led to the murder of tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone. It is a nightmare. It is a trail to certain death, okay? And that's why we're speaking in such stark terms, because we need America to wake up. We're not even, look, 35 years ago, Republicans and Democrats in Congress, when I was coming up in, the Reagan years, they were fighting communism on a distant shore. Now it's here. But in Congress, they all agreed on that. They obviously knew that we had to fight communism. And so what they were doing here for domestic policy, that was foreign policy. Domestic policy, they were arguing over, marginal tax rates and the shades of regulation and how large the government should be. There wasn't a huge difference, a chasm between the two parties. Those days are gone. Right now, domestically, we are arguing, we are debating, we are fighting. The election will be over whether we're going to maintain our freedom in a constitutional republic, the greatest experiment in self-governance in the history of the world, the longest surviving constitution on the planet, the nation that everybody wants to emulate, and everybody wants to come here. We have to seal our borders so they won't flood over them. We're the only nation in the world that has that distinction. We're the last great superpower. We are the greatest nation in the history of the world. We are fighting right now in Congress over whether we're going to maintain our status as a constitutional republic, or we're going to trade that in, dismantle the foundations, and go down this dark road of death to communism. That is the question on the ballot this fall. Now, DSA published their platform. I hope you're all covering. I hope you're writing in depth about their platform. I read it out at an event a few weeks ago, and they've made an ad mocking me reading their platform.
So Johnson calls this a fight for the survival of our constitutional republic. Next, he gets more direct, calling these rising socialist candidates a danger to your family.
It's in their platform. They want to remove the carceral state, they said. No prisons. They don't want to fund the police. This is not a game. Everybody needs to understand. These crazy little mini Mamdanis who are popping up all around the country, they are a danger to you and your family. This is not a game. If they promise you free stuff, there is far more beneath those promises that even some of these people do not understand themselves. And so we are here as the Republican Party to stand on the founding principles of the greatest nation in the history of the world. It is our duty to do that. And we're doing it on behalf of all of you, even the journalists who don't agree with our policies all the time. You better agree on these principles, because it's what keeps you free. By the way, it's what keeps the press free, okay? This is essential for your well-being and your family. This is not a game. This is not our father's Democrat Party. We're not arguing over marginal tax rates anymore. We're arguing over whether or not freedom is going to survive. And that's why we're so serious about this.
Wow. Here he says the Pentagon needs hundreds of billions more because, in his words, we're fighting communism on our own shores.
There's been a lot of discussion about what's going to be included in this reconciliation bill. Can you walk through how important and how imminent it is that the Pentagon needs additional funding and what that number precisely is going to be in the Republican bill?
The question was, can you list the specifics of what the request is for the Pentagon? We've seen it's over $350 billion as a request. And some of this is transformational kind of funding that will help us change the dynamic of the Department of War and make it more efficient and effective. It's already the greatest fighting force on the planet, not even close. But there are some ideas, a real vision on how to improve that even further, to bolster that. You've heard the president talk about how he wants to effectively double the funding for national defense. Look, we live in dangerous times. We're fighting communism on our own shores, and we're fighting evil terrorists and tyrants around the world. And we have to be able to protect our national security. So this is not the place to get into the details of that.
The threats here at home, and the left particularly runs the fact check and sneer. Next, you'll see their response to dismiss the warning, attack the messenger. The intellectualist writes, you heard the president talk. Fact check, they say this is false, and speaks to Johnson's unfitness.
But there are some ideas, a real vision on how to improve that even further, to bolster that. You've heard the president talk about how he wants to effectively double the funding for national defense. Look, we live in dangerous times. We're fighting communism on our own shores, and we're fighting evil.
So he says, the intellectual says this is false. Well, the media class says Johnson's unfit for saying communism's on our shores. But now, even a former Hillary Clinton advisor admits the socialist wing inside today's Democrat Party doesn't love America.
I'm going to agree mostly with what Mehek said and also with what was said in that editorial. These people, they're not crazy. They're ideologues, but they don't love America. Let me say that. A lot of these people do not love America. And I'm not Team Democrat, I'm Team America. And if we have people in our party who are so far left that they are saying we don't want to protect people from crime, well, that's just absurd. And by the way, we're not going to win a national election, let alone an election in Michigan, if that's our position.
And now, meanwhile, leftists are trying to sell New York as proof their ideas work. In this next clip, oh, wait, here's Steve Scalise. I'm sorry, Steve Scalise puts it in plain English with a simple example of how government control starts one mandate at a time. Here.
Mamdani, with a smile just a week and a half ago, in a record heat wave in New York City, told the citizens of New York to raise their temperature up to 78 degrees on their thermostat. I guess that's the warmth and collectivism of socialism that he talked about in his campaign. Not the kind of warmth people of New York were counting on. But that's how it starts. It starts where you can't raise your temperature over 78 degrees, and then they're going to come check and make sure you're not raising it over 78 degrees. Then they'll probably fine you, and then they'll probably try to put you in jail if you do it. That's what communism is. That's what we are raising their red flag over, because we're not going to let that red flag fly over this United States Capitol. That's what's on the ballot this November.
That's what's on the ballot. And then we have this, the leftists posting a video of a park in New York City trying to say communism's working under Zohran Mamdani, but Bryant Park is privately funded. Capitalism. Private security. Communists are clowns. And President Trump issuing a stark warning about the greatest threat.
You know, a couple of people said, I think you're probably right. I think this country, with this thing that's going around, is in more danger than it was during World War I, World War II. If you talk about September 11th, if you talk about Pearl Harbor, that was big danger. I think the concept of us going communist, because one thing that happens when you go communist, you never come back, never comes back. You die in squalor. You die a horrible death. You die in squalor. And it gets very evil and very nasty. Yeah, please go ahead.
These crazy little mini Mamdanis are a danger to you and your family. Mike Johnson said it. And I'm glad that he did. Because after Ashik Siddique says abolishing the Senate is in the platform, nobody gets to hide behind cute labels anymore. Zohran Mamdani pushes the warmth of collectivism. Democrats flirt with gutting police and the communist state. And the DSA co-chair wants to bulldoze a chamber of Congress. That's not reform. That's a hostile takeover with a smiley face sticker slapped on it. And listen to Trump's warning right here. Once communism takes hold, you never come back. That's the sentence that slams the whole thing shut. Siddique gave away the plan. Johnson named the threat, and Trump told you the cost. Freedom goes out and control. Freedom goes in and control comes out. So Democrats need to answer Ashik Siddique tonight. Do you support abolishing the Senate? No hiding behind staff statements, okay? No legacy media fog machine. No smirking fact-check clown waving this way away while Mike Johnson says correctly, we're fighting communism on our own shores. You and I just watched the confession land on camera. We watched the scam collapse in Bryant Park. We watched Trump's warning line up with Johnson's alarm bell beat for beat. So now the job is simple. Name the radicals, reject the radicals, beat the radicals at the ballot box, back Trump's America First firewall, back the Republicans finally willing to say communism out loud, and force every Democrat to own the red banner that's rising inside their party. Because if Ashik Siddique gets his way, the Senate falls first and the rest of the Republic stands there waiting for the wrecking ball. And we're not going to let that happen. I'm going to make sure you are informed. That's why I set up this number. And thousands of patriots have already texted the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. I've read your comments. I'm just as frustrated as you are. You see what they're doing to this channel. And the only way around it is to cut them out completely. I'm talking about the Silicon Valley overlords who are controlling the news feeds, who are controlling the notifications, who are controlling the algorithm that is destroying this channel. Stay connected with us, and you can do that right now by texting raw feed to 844-840-4963, and I will send you the notification directly one time a night so you get the news that you have been depending on for years. Don't wait. Do it now.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.